Transactional analysis. This is based on work done by a psychologist called Eric Berne, who analysed the transactions between people. So when people communicate, whether it be words or the way they use gestures, there are continual units of interaction. And these transactions throw light on the nature of the relationships between people. It's based on the idea that as we grow up, we develop our ego, and that this is based firstly on the way our parents relate to us. They teach us what's good, what's bad, what we should and shouldn't do. And as children, we incorporate that parental side to us in the way we see the world. And of course, as a child, we learn to express our own needs and feelings as we grow up, and then we become more adult. The sorts of parenting we receive affects the way we then express the parent within ourselves. And that might be either nurturing or it might be critical. The same goes for our upbringing as children. We develop different ways of expressing the child side of ourselves. Sometimes we're compliant, or we might have an aspect of ourselves that's very inquiring and inquisitive. And there's another side, which I'm sure you recognise, which is a bit rebellious. And then overall, when we really fully play and express ourselves, it's referred to as the free child. Now, these parts of our ego are in all of us all the time, but they get expressed in different ways depending on who we interact with. And when two people meet, all three ego states come into the transactions. So, three parts of the ego: parent, adult, child. When somebody relates to us as an adult, they might simply say, "Can you update me on the project we're working on?" And the other person replies, as an adult, "Yes, definitely, I'll email you an update this week." Pretty simple, adult to adult, parallel transaction. However, if the first person were to say, "How are you getting on with that project? Hope you're not finding it too much of a struggle," in a way they're being a bit parental to the other person. It could be nurturing in that way, or it could be, "Have you not finished that project yet? What else is going on?" which would be more critical. Often when we're spoken to that, like that, the person responds in a childlike way. It might be to the first, "Oh, that's kind of you to ask. Yeah, it's been a bit tough, but I think I'm getting there." Or to the critical one, either compliantly, yeah, I'm doing my best," or perhaps rebelliously, "Mind your own business." Or someone might ask a question as a child, "Can you help me? I'm really stuck." And a colleague might reply as a nurturing parent, "Yes, certainly, how can I help you?" Or as a critical one, "God, you ought to have cracked it by now, you know." So you see how these sorts of transactions are often affected by our different ego states. Now, it gets more complicated when people have what are called cross transactions. So one person asks the other in a certain way, for instance, as an adult, "Can you update me on that project we're working on?" But the person replies very much as a parent, "Well, if you really feel you need the information, of course I'll do my best to provide it for you." Or critically, "Gosh, you ought to be on top enough by now to know what you're doing." It's that whole thing about, have you got the time, please? And somebody says, "About time you bought yourself a watch." When dealing with conflict situations, the best thing is to try and get people to the level where they're both responding adult to adult. Now, of course, this is all happening underneath the surface. I'm now going to have a slide which is unlikely you'd ever use it, but it puts the whole ego state model in line with Freud's model of the unconscious, and relates also the way that we at Maynard Lee use this approach in our work, and, without explaining it necessarily, in helping people to learn effectively. It starts with Freud's notion of the id and the superego. The id being the basic drives, and the superego being the kind of more inherited parental critical self. And in the middle is the ego, with all the ego states. Now, Freud's idea, of course, is that a lot of the superego and the id is pretty unconscious, whereas the ego is conscious or semi-conscious. Within the ego sits the TA model of the aspects of the child and the parent and the adult. And this wavers, particularly the parent and the child, between consciousness and unconsciousness. What we do in our work is often to get people to become more conscious of their inner critic, the voice that's speaking to them all the time. And what we do, actually, by naming it, and the other work that we do, is give people permission to actually use their child to be curious and to play and learn by experience. They go back to experiential learning. We then want them to develop their adult so that they can use their inner coach to help them learn and develop better.